So here we have the Ender and the Ender 3 Pro. Take a quick guess at which is which. Oh, you can't, because they look exactly the same. We have the Ender 3 Pro right over here, and this is the Ender 3. Of course, I've been using these for a little bit of time, so you're going to see some mods like this LED light strip. That's not standard. I haven't added it to this one. These little arms that hold the filament, they're not standard. They're a 3D print file. And this one has a different heater head than this one. Same bits, but we just modded one. It's a modded system, but they are very similar. Overall, I'll give you the main differences between the Pro and the non-Pro. Alright, so we just put together the Ender 3 Pro. I have the Ender, you saw that in an earlier video right here. I did a walkthrough, it was about an hour video of putting that together. This one went together way, way faster. Fastest printer I've ever put together is the Ender. I have a Prusa, we have a little NWA 3D. They're more aimed at like STEM center and classroom stuff.
Snapmaker.
And then Snapmaker. I have one of those, and Tronxy XY, another printer I got that was like it's a mimic of the Prusa. The Prusa takes forever to put together. It took me 3 full days.
Holy crap.
Yeah, the Tronxy, it's like an ANET A8. It's a similar ripoff. That took me equally as long, if not longer. I think Brian and I put that together. The Ender took me and Brian an hour. This one took about 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, it was really fast, really easy. Most of it's already together. So having done one, I kind of knew where things went. But I did do some add-ons that you will probably end up doing to yours that don't come in the Pro version or the regular Ender version. It's replacing this tubing and the fittings down here, because the ones they send with it are usually garbage. That's what everyone tells you to send. I did try to switch out to the Hero Me. There's a different head up here. I have a different one on the Ender, the regular version, but for some reason it didn't fit. So that's a Thingiverse file. So I went back to the original. Added the filament arm up here. Absolutely a must-have, because when your filament's going around, it makes a curve into here, and it'll get caught and be tight. So this holds it out. I printed this in PETG, so it's strong on the Prusa, because I knew it was coming. One nice thing about the Pro, it comes with these little clips that go into the fittings to keep them tight so your tube will not come out. Also, it's got a Meanwell brand name version power supply. It's about half as thick as the Ender 3, but they say it's quieter too, but it's a brand name, so what's powering it as a firefighter, it scares me a little bit, like the fire safety of this. So that's nice to have a brand name at least. Also, it comes with a magnetic bed, which is really nice. It comes with the same non-brand name BuildTak stuff on there, but we're getting closer to Prusa quality with the ability to take it off. Weird thing about this is like it doesn't have, like it's all not magnetic and you can't slide it. It's really tight. But if you don't get it on just right, it's really funky. Like I have to mess around with getting it on correctly. So I don't know if that's a good or bad. And if you get it off on this side, you're gonna run into the power supply and start rubbing it. So it's like, it's a bit finicky, and if you move it over, it just doesn't line up super easy. I still can't get it quite right. I'm gonna take 20 times to do it. There, that's about it.
That looks good.
Let's power it on and see how this one does. So first boot. Concerns me because it's not turning on. Oh, okay. I'll tell you why. Because on the back of the power supply, and I hope I didn't ruin it, I forgot all about it. There's a switch on both of them, the Ender and the Ender 3 Pro, from this one's 230 volt to 110, that you have to manually switch over, and it comes 220 by default. Or okay, it says 230 to 115. So you have to get your little screwdriver and pop it down back here. So heads up, that's similar on the Ender 3 and the Ender 3 Pro. Both the same there. Let's turn it around, see if that makes a difference. And I didn't fry the board somehow. Oh, light just came on, so there we go. This is the LCD, it's turning on. So it does say Ender 3 Pro. We don't know what firmware the board comes with. I'll have to open that up and check it. So this is my Prusa bed off of the Prusa i3 M3KS, the newest one. It's got a magnetic sheet. It's a metal one. You can see how limp this one is. And that one's really stiff. That actually has metal inside of it to keep it stiff. And it also has PEI on top and bottom. It's a certain coating that seems to work really well. I replaced my Snapmaker tack build with that PEI because I could not get it to stick. This is what it looks like if you buy it from Amazon. That's what I did, and I cut it to the Snapmaker. And that's actually what the coating is on the Prusa. And I switched over the Snapmaker, and it stuck first try every time, without glue, without oil, without tape. Perfect stuff, and that always happens on the Prusa, and this does not have that. So I plan to rip this off and replace it with a sheet of PEI to make it very similar to that. Even though this is probably going to work okay, because the other Ender works okay, but we'll see. So you can hear it's on right now. The power supply fan is not on. I don't know when that's going to turn on. The front cooling fan for the heat block is on, blowing. It's relatively quiet compared to the Ender. And let me go ahead and turn the temperature up, and maybe that'll kick the power supply on. So I'm going to turn the temperature up to 200. That's usually the PLA temperature. And we'll see if the power supply ever kicks in, because that was one of my main gripes about the original Ender, was the power supply was really, really loud, and when I'm making videos or just sitting in here, it's just a constant hum. So I ended up replacing the fan on that one with a Noctua fan. It was not factory, it was kind of an aftermarket janky add-on. I had to cut into the metal, and I would love it if this fan is quiet. But it's still not on, and I thought the power supply fan should always be on, but I could be mistaken. So we'll wait a minute, see if it turns on when it hits 200 temperature. So we'll cut to that right now. I've been checking it out. The fan on the side still hasn't come on yet. The fan for the hot end has come on. I've manually turned on the blower fan. The fan for underneath, I took that apart. You can see I took that off. It's another thing different about the Ender 3 Pro over the Ender is that everything is upside down here. It makes it a lot easier to put your card in, and the fan isn't blowing up here. It actually is blowing down, so things won't drop into it. Only thing I find worrisome about that is that there's not much room for the air to come out from underneath, so I don't know. I took it apart, checked the board. Mine came with 1.1.4, the board itself. And then I'll check what's coming. The firmware that's coming on this is 1.1.6.2. I know 1.1.8 is out right now from Creality for their aftermarket silent boards, which I'll be getting and putting in this, and I'll do a video showing you the difference in the decibel level, how silent it really will be. But I may flash it to a different firmware anyways, and so that's that. This fan has come on, it just hasn't come on permanently yet, which is odd. I'm pretty sure my original Ender, the fan on the power supply and the fan underneath were wired together and they were always on. So I don't know if this is just defective or the upgraded power supply comes on with a temperature controlled deal, and so does the bottom. So we'll get to using it a little bit more, actually print something out, and we'll see how that turns out. One other thing that's really nice that the Pro came with is a sock. Now, I don't know if they're shipping every ender with a sock. I kind of read that on the forum. Every ender now comes with a sock that covers your hot end in case you have any anything come off the bottom and stick up there. It won't just mess up everything. It's a silicone sock you can just take off. I have had that happen. The sock is a really nice thing to prevent. So that did come on this. It may be an all across the board ender thing now that they're doing, or it may be a Pro. I can't confirm that, but some people on forums may be able to do that for you. Let me put this all back together, actually get the bed level, print something, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so we have it up and running. I've just now tightened the eccentric nuts right here. If you're hearing the air conditioning, sorry, it's Arkansas, hot summer, I'm not turning it off. So now we need to bed level this, but first we're going to come over here, go to prepare. We're going to auto home to make sure everything moves the way it should. Our filament came, we're just going to load it up here. That's where your filament rolls will go. So we auto home, it's going to home to the bottom left. Now we need to do leveling the bed. Okay, so we took this off because it was too fat to fit through. Junk filament. It probably absorbed so much moisture that it expanded, won't fit through, and clogged the nozzle. So we're yanking that out. We're using some Hatchbox, which is what I like to use. It's on Amazon, about $20 a roll. I know it's good filament. I ran it and everything before, so we're going to feed that in and try to pump that through and make sure that it works. So we take this crappy stuff out of the equation. I suggest if you get any with your printer, just throw it away and skip the headache of unclogging a nozzle. We're heated. We're about to push the Hatchbox blue through. Keep it going. There we go. You can see the blues coming out now. Pushing all that white that was garbage out. Good? Yeah. So we know our nozzle's good now. We're having some ooze out. That's good. That means there's good flow and there's no obstructions. So now we're just going to load a file and start printing. Alright, we're going to print from the SD card with what they come. We're going to do the dog. Now the bed's going to heat up and we should get a print here to see what it looks like.
Because I said this was 255 by 240.
Yeah.
And it
One
gets,
size bigger than it.
remember, it gets expensive.
Oh, it does.
It just jumps.
Well, that's just trying to keep the front knobby thing, which I guess doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Alright, the print just finished. Here's the dog that comes on the SD card. This is in the blue filament. And I guess we'll take off the magnetic bed. You can see it's stuck really well. There was no brim or anything. It actually prints a raft on it. It comes off. And it's really, really smooth down here. You can see the print quality is blowing me away. It's absolutely fantastic. The head. So let's pop off these down here. Let's pop off the raft and see what it looks like underneath. It's just a phenomenal print. Even my Prusa, that's a $750 printer, sometimes doesn't print as good as this. Of course, this is their file, made specifically for the Ender, and really nice. So a really quality print. Okay, so there's 4 main differences from the factory of the Pro and the non-Pro. So I'm going to turn this on its side, and you can see there's the power supply over here and the power supply over here. This is a Meanwell power supply. It's a branded Chinese brand, but it's a good brand of power supply. You can see it's real thin. And over here we have a non-branded power supply. It is not as good as the Pro, and it's much thicker, about twice as thick. It's also much, much louder. Now I've modded it with a silent fan, and you wouldn't have to do that with the Pro version. So as we take a look at the front, you can see this main rail right down the center. This one on the Pro is double as thick as the non-Pro. Theoretically, that gives it better stability, which in turn will give it better prints. Then we have the housing on both of them. This is where your main control board is. One on the Pro is flipped upside down to make it easier to get the card in and out with your finger. And on the non-Pro, it's down along the bottom. That makes it harder to grab the card because the table is in your way. So that is a positive. Of course, I have a fan shroud on top here because since it's flipped over on this one, the fan is blowing air up and pieces of filament and stuff can go down in there. So this is a printable part that you can find on Thingiverse. And then we have the beds. So I'll slide this out, and you can see they're the same size and everything, except on the Pro you get a magnetic bed where you can take it off and you can pop it like this and pop a print off, and on the and it'll snap back down. On the non-Pro, I've added a glass bed, but it's not a magnetic bed, and to get things off you can't bend it in half. You're going to use a scraper and scrape. Even with a glass bed, you're going to have to use some hairspray or something to get it stick. Over here on the magnetic bed, it comes with a build tack, just like this one does from the factory. Neither of mine have that because it's not very good. I like to use PEI sheets on everything, and if you want to get one for any printer you have, I'll leave a link in the description below. So those are our 4 main differences. We have the bed, the control board flipping upside down, we have the power supply, and we have the thicker rail. Now, the print quality has come out exactly the same on both of them, and they are both exceptional. So you're not getting better print quality, to my eyes, from either one. You're getting ease of use. A silenter machine as on the Pro because of the better power supply. You're getting a magnetic bed that takes it off. This rail doesn't seem to make much of a difference in print, and there's just ease of getting this out and the SD card in and out from it being flipped over. Now the difference in price, this one is about $230 and this one is around $180, depending on what site you go. You can go to GearBest or Banggood. Those usually offer the best prices. I'll leave links in the description below for any of those. I got this one for about $180 at the time, and this one is about $220. You can get these individual parts for slightly cheaper than just going for the Pro version, but then you have to do the modding. If you have done any modding, that's really easy for you. If this is your first printer, that may intimidate you. I would just go ahead and go for the Pro version. It's a good value overall. And it still lasts me today, even after becoming more advanced in printing. This is still a great printer. It's still the #1 printer I recommend to anyone getting into printing, especially at the price point around $200, $220. So that's the main differences between the two. I hope this helps. Have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll answer every single one. Again, subscribe and give a thumbs up, and happy printing.